Greetings, citizens. I am your host, Jay Voodoo Child, and here is my exit plan. Um, as I've said in another video, I have come to embrace a mantra that I learned from the info runners, and that is always have an exit plan. And in my case, since I am kind of going out on the limb and relying on a 2013 blog, multiple package clarification, which kind of essentially describes how you can use extra digital downloads in various ways. Um, when I was first pledging back in 2013, this was kind of relevant information. And when I was researching the game, it kind of sank in line with other MMOs that I've played that I've had multiple characters and alts and a main or what have you. And I did all sorts of different things with those characters. And Star Citizen being an MMO, I figured it would be the same. And it did have a new wrinkle to it with possessing, and that is allowing other players to take over my spare NPCs, which could be used as regular NPC crew members instead of assigning them as a captain for a ship. And so basically, since that point, I've been planning on having multiple game packages to kind of self crew my fleet. And over the years, my fleet has grown into several ships. And as you can see here, I think I'm like up to 16 or something like that. And I don't know, a month or two ago, I decided to utilize my alts, which I'd done to get a referral ship, the MPVU, and this was like 3 years back. And so I kind of activated those alts and started placing important vehicles on those MPVU, which cannot be melted, cannot be gifted, and so they are locked in. And as you can see here, they're noted. And then kind of spreading out the extra digital downloads that I was getting from starting my CCU chains with player packages, with game packages. But in case, I mean, one of the big questions is, how many characters is CIG going to want to have on one account? And so I was kind of hedging my bets, if you will, to say if the player cap is 10, which is kind of like my hope, that would allow me to self crew a Bano Merchantman and have some extra digital downloads that I can do other things with other ships. And but if the player cap was 8, or the PC cap, then I would sell off the BMM, as you can see here. And how I would spread the EDDs to say, okay, I'm going to have 8 on my main, and then whatever leftovers, I'm going to start moving to the alts. And then if the PC cap was 4, which is the number that they actually mentioned in the 2013 blog, then this is how I would divide them up. And these would be the ones I try and sell off on the gray market because they're just too big for me at that point. And if the PC cap was 1, then, I would have the LTI token without a player pack from the referral, and then I'd have a game package moved over there. And of course, the most important one is the Squadron 42 game pack that I got originally, and then something to move over with the MSR. And, have some small packages that I would gift out to friends and then sell all the big stuff. So that was my exit plan as of, I don't know, about 10 days ago. And this is like a week before CitizenCon. And I started to have second thoughts on whether I wanted to put everything into the Banner Merchantman. And let me pause here so I can bring up that screen. This is going to be difficult. So here is my fleet in the fleet viewer, and just how I was planning on utilizing these vehicles and how I was spreading out these extra digital downloads. The prime being our trade life. This load in a total of 8 into a Banner Merchantman with a defender as in the hangar to be utilized as a scout. And this is kind of like my in-game gameplay, to just be a traveling merchant and just enjoy the game. That sounded like an interesting thing to do. But in practically every MMO I've played, I've been heavily involved in crafting. And so in order to do that, I had the Endeavor Super Collider on one of the alts, and then that alt crew member would do crafting here and would do a daily driver on the Terrapin to do Terrapin kind of scouting things. I have a short about being an island watcher with Terrapins. That was something I was trying to see if I would utilize going forward. And then let me see here. And then depending on what size truck I needed, I could divide this up between Alt 1, Alt 2, and possibly the Concierge. And then, so I had the second Endeavor, which I kind of got the second Endeavor, started factoring that into my plans after the changes to the Redeemer. And since it was only $20 away, I decided this would be the next best thing to do, even if it was a duplicate, because I could do something different and grow my own medical supplies and do some crafting with that. And, you know, if that wasn't profitable, then, you know, maybe go to drugs or something like that. So that was another thing to do with crafting. And then came to Galaxy, utilizing the construction module and, you know, building bases and that sort of thing. And that would be with my Concierge game package, basically. And then we have some buying games for the C8R and the 315P. And then for deliveries for any of these goods, you know, if it was really something small, then, you know, the 315P. It was something a little bit larger, the Cutlass Black. And a Caterpillar with, you know, a cargo, a shop, a dock, and a barracks, which was kind of like my original concept for the allocation of modules in the Caterpillar. And, you know, of course, I was really worried that the last ship shape in 2015, when they kind of reviewed those modules, really hasn't been talked about since. And I made another video on that, so go check that out. And then also my first love of Star Citizen, the Freelancer Dur. And I have a video dedicated to this as well. So yeah, high grade thruster fuel crafting. And so the Concierge, since I really didn't see myself doing a lot of base building, was kind of spread out thin with this. And probably my main daily driver, the Mercury Star Runner. Then we had kind of like the org support unit, and that was, you know, crew number 2, number 1 being the Concierge, and this is the one with the Squadron 42, and that means that one day I could hopefully get the F8C Lightning unlocked in the game and purchase that there. And so these 3 ships I was planning on utilizing for just basic org support, you know, a big, probably large now, but potentially capital or sub-capital when it goes live, repair vehicle with a kind of bay that I could have the Lightning involved with. And so as a single player, I could fly this out to wherever the org needed it, hop into the fighter, run, combat air patrol or space patrol, and allow the org members to get into this and repair the things and do that sort of thing. Repair personally wasn't interesting, but this is such a useful utility ship. I put it in my fleet. And, certainly the Endeavors I've always loved. I kind of had to be talked to into, I guess, watching a lot of info runners. They have the Cult of the Endeavor and the Church of the Crucible. And I definitely joined that church. But, for that package that started the chain was for the SRV that started with the Squadron 42 key, and that got the F8 Lightning. But, the SRV just has a lot of utility capabilities. It could tow Rex to a crucible. It could tow mines in front of Orion. It could tow Rex to a reclaimer. It could help load a whole CDE kind of thing, and it could help move capitals in and out of gravity. So there was that, and then down here with the reclaimer. The reclaimer I kind of got late. I started looking at dividing up my Warbond CCUs and other CCUs and realized I had enough kind of capital to get into a reclaimer. So I picked up this, and I was struggling with the reclaimer because it's a little larger crew than I want to, and it's just slow. It doesn't have the protection that I'm looking for, and it would just be really hard for me to utilize solo, particularly if everyone's in a band of merchantmen. So I kind of was struggling with this, but in the end I decided I'd rather have it and keep it in my hangar and just have it available whenever I needed it. But I'd rather have it than not have it. And since I had the money for it, why not? Sort of the same situation with the 600i. I've had less hesitation about this because it can be utilized as a surprisingly ERT type vessel. I'm not in the game, so I'm not experiencing that, but from what I'm told, this remains to be soloable. Hopefully after the remake, it's still kind of that way with a lot of pilot control guns. I think it's 3 5 plus, a little bit of missiles. And, that was considered very effective for those types of missions and something that a soloist could do and occupy their time and, have income coming in from that. So this I would utilize every once in a while in case these daily drivers kind of weren't interested in me for that play session. And so that's basically how I was considering things about 10 days ago. But then, and let's go back to the exit plan. And I started hesitating about having so much in the BMM and having everything, my 4, basically 2 on the main and then 1 here, 1 here. Packages spread out against all these ships, and just, am I effectively utilizing these ships that I've spent a great deal of money on? And did it make sense to just pile everything in the BMM? So I kind of posted a question out on Billionaires Ninjas forums or their Discord. Seeking advice and support is like, am I being kind of crazy? Even though the answer is easy yes. But it's like, okay, here's what I had, and this is kind of like, here's the number of accounts or character slots. Here's how I started the chain. Here's the insurance that kind of was built into the chain. And then here are the kind of status of if they can gift out either to sell or to move over. And then here was how I was allocating these numbers across the board. And this is what I was thinking of doing. It's like selling off the BMM and kind of going more into this kind of 4 range. Even though I really wasn't dividing it up, but I mean, I wasn't spreading all these ships into the alts. And also kind of getting away from having 2 endeavors and just go with 2 terrapins. The reason why I was going with 2 terrapins, if I'm using them as coast watchers, particularly around a jump point, I thought it would be useful to have one character on one side of the jump point and the other on the other side. That way I can give, a all clear scouting kind of self mission type, an actual player created gameplay of selling information. Just by having these 2 alt accounts, this kind of be out there. And so that was just something I was considering. But most importantly, having full self crews on the Door, the Caterpillar, the MSR, whenever I was utilizing them. I added in the Starfarer and Liberator instead of the Reclaimer, and dumping the Defender. And then instead of the black, bring in a Razor X that was just a natural fit with the Liberator. And just kind of doing things different. And with the Liberator, I have a video about how this could be utilized as a kind of scout escort, if you will. And, watch the video for details on that. But I kind of thought that might be interesting to bring into the mix as things that I can do with my account and with my time. And just have one endeavor doing the overclocking thing. So I was asking about that. And still kind of unclear. I was thinking probably I was going to do a blend of it. I wasn't quite sure where it was going to land in the final end. But then CitCon comes. And hopefully I will make a video explaining the ramifications of the day 2 information. But essentially, I went back to square one and thinking, all my previous planning on how I would utilize these ships, what ships I wanted, all that was kind of out the window, and I needed to start again because I finally understood, I guess, a general path in which I would be utilizing my time. First of all, as I mentioned, I do a lot of crafting, but it seems like every item in this game is now going to be craftable, and that is surprising information because I thought there would be very little crafting, and that the most meaningful things that I could do and probably sell is just overclocking components. Well, that's not true, and because there will be literally thousands of these blueprints, these recipes, crafting recipes, spread out for both crafting and the kind of refining process that goes before it. And then have each of those recipes upgradable into level 2 and 3 for most items, and 4 and 5 for every vehicle that's in the game. And that's gaining in numbers itself. And if I wanted to kind of be the one-stop shop for crafting, that would require a whole lot of work. And so my first thought when I'm listening to the presentations on day 2 is like, oh, I need to start a crafting organization. And, this is too much for me to take on personally. And so I would need a lot of people involved, and, some focusing on different specialties of, I'm a gun maker, I'm an armor maker, I'm a small ship or a industrial ship, crafter. And, I'm a gatherer, I'm a processor, I know different blueprints for refining and, for gases, for fuel, or for minerals for that, or having a division for salvaging. And, just, it was going to require a lot. And, you know, I just, I've been, a guild leader. I've held different kind of leadership roles through the years, but I've come to find out that I just don't have that kind of magnetic personality that draws people to me. I mean, my channel's been open for a couple of years, and I've tried to utilize some of the YouTube trips to increase viewership and subscriptions, but it just hasn't taken off. And that's fine. And, I've kind of given up a lot as far as trying to put in the work. That might be changing because I'm kind of utilizing, I'm thinking right now today of just kind of starting a vlog of just doing what I'm doing right now, just talking through my thought process on, starting from square one and just how I evaluate all this stuff and how I want to position myself going forward when, we start to actually play Star Citizen. And so, yeah, this basically everything went back to square one. And another part of, so I decided the crafting guild is probably not going to work. And so my next thought is like, all right, if I'm going to be playing mostly solo and self-crewing the larger multi-crew ships with my extra digital downloads, what areas do I need to fix in? And there are two categories that involve blueprints. One is refining and the other is crafting. Gathering doesn't require blueprints. And so I decided I'm going to, and as we see right here, I'm just going to concentrate on blueprints. I'm just going to be a blueprint collector. And then hopefully the Endeavor would be involved with crafting. And the Galaxy, I was going to move away from the construction and head into refining. And just focus there. And I was just reallocating my extra digital downloads across not 3 accounts, but 4, because there's an offer running through the end of October that says if you have a referral, just one, that referral will get a hover bike quad, and your main will get a hover bike quad. And so that would have 2 referral LTI, tokens to it. And I decided that I would concentrate mostly on having 1 to 4 crew member vehicles. There are exceptions. The Endeavor, I've never thought of using the Endeavor fully crewed. It was just always basically a crafting station that I would have maybe one, character on and doing the overclocking thing. The Galaxy, I think, is 1 to 5, maybe 1 to 6. Probably 1 to 6. And so that's kind of over the board. And at this point, I'd already dropped the Banner Merchantman, the Defender, and the Reclaimer at this point. Did I have the door in here? Maybe I didn't have the door. But anyway, there was a version of this, but I've overwritten it, and then I kind of gave up on doing it this way. So basically, I had the doer up here in this block of 4, and so basically, all 4 of these game packages would run whatever 4 crew ship I needed at the time, and that was just kind of my thinking there. And then have a full crew for the MSR, which is again was going to be my main daily driver, and some other things. The Zeus MR is a new thought, because true bounty hunting, bringing them in alive kind of crafting. I'm not talking about ERTs. The Zeus seemed like the best of the small crew options. The next one being like the Polaris, which is obnoxious amount of crew for my requirements. And so again, would be put me in the same boat of just the Band Merchantman. But I'm still kind of on the fence about whether I want a Zeus MR. But another thing that happened on Sunday with CitCon on day 2 was they were talking about adding the warranty to the kind of insurance plan. And essentially, anything that you purchase on the pledge store comes with a warranty for life. And the difference between an insurance claim without a warranty and with is without, you get a payout in credits of the value of that claim. And there are 3 different levels of insurance. That's not pertinent for this conversation, and certainly you can find that information elsewhere. But also factoring with that payout is a depreciation, and that kind of got me scared as far as, okay, so I'm spending money to purchase or craft a vehicle, and through no fault of my own, of course, it gets destroyed. And so I want to get it back. Well, I'm only getting paid a depreciated value of that. So I'm having to spend more of my personal money to kind of get back to where I was before the accident. And that seemed like a little bit of a money sink and not ideal. But if I purchased that vehicle through the pledge store, I would not get money, and at a depreciated value, I would get the actual ship back. And depending on my insurance level, I could get more out of it from upgrades or personal items. And at that point, I wasn't sure what level insurance, the stuff that we are using now. That's probably a subject for a different video. But so I was definitely now moving away from the concept of it's easier to earn down than up, and which I do support, but unfortunately I think that gets used a little too cookie cutter, one size fits all, and that's where I kind of disagree with the philosophy, because kind of generally speaking, everyone should get an Orion and solo the Orion one time to get enough money to buy the ship that they're really interested in game. There's not, at this point in alpha, any real concern about, okay, how difficult is it going to be running an Orion solo or with a small group of friends without an escort, with very little startup money. All those types of things is like, how much money are you going to get from that? And also, when the economy goes from an alpha, here we're just going to throw money at you so you can purchase more ships in game and test those out for us as well. When everything kind of gets at launch state, are you really going to be making that kind of income to purchase a vehicle without any insurance and do that was something that really made no sense to me. Is like they are recommending on one basis, get something large so you can buy a whole bunch of little stuff easily, and none of that stuff comes with any insurance, but everyone must get LTI. We don't need to start our chains with game packages because we just don't know enough about them. It has to be LTI. And it's like, okay, what's the point of having LTI even though it's your most expensive ship if you don't have to really pay for insurance 10 years after, and you're losing out on all the benefits of the extra character slot? And yeah, I think that, CIG is going to sell character slots as a standalone thing, but I think that price is going to be more expensive than if you just got the game package to begin with. And is there a whole lot of difference between 10 years insurance and lifetime insurance? I didn't think so. But, that's just me, my situation. I realize that everyone's situation is different. And so, the amount of money that you have available to spend, how much time you have to spend in the game, and just, do you want to waste it by doing all these things that I think extra digital download saves, as opposed to farming for basic hull insurance once a month or, however often? This didn't make a whole lot of sense to me and seemed counterproductive with, we must get LTI. We must start all our chains with an LTI token. But yet we're planning on buying all this stuff with zero insurance. But anyway, I digress. So the warranty, I decided I only wanted to have things with warranty. And one of the pieces of advice that I give new players is don't spend hardly any money in this. Get yourself a good starter package and then go from there. And A, it's cheaper, and B, if you want to be part in the multi-crew gameplay, which this game has a lot of, be someone's crew member. You don't have to get that ship yourself. You don't have to spend hundreds of dollars to get that ship so you can be in it and fly it and, have that feeling, to have that game experience. You can become a crew member and have that experience. And if it's that rewarding, you can go get that. You can earn up for that. But I decided that I was just going to try and self-crew the smaller range of ships, and every ship anything I wanted to do in the game, essentially, I wanted to have pledged for that ship from the pledge store and to have a warranty on it. That way, if I lose it, I can get that ship back, not have any depreciation on it, not have to run around and, refit it the way I want to. Another thing about the day 2 presentation is ships have 5 levels or 4 extra levels of upgrades that you can craft for them. Presumably that will be replaced through an insurance claim of a level 2 or higher. And I wanted to get back what I'd lost in an accident. So I wanted everything to have a warranty. And so definitely I was going a lot smaller than I was before. And certainly the BMM is long out of the picture at this point. Let me see if there's anything else I wanted to talk about that process. Well, I think that's a good starting point of where I was feeling kind of at the end of Monday. And this is now Wednesday, so I got a little catching up to do. But essentially, I kind of want to take a journey and have you guys come along. I'm just going to be making videos talking about my thoughts and also just kind of therapeutically by talking these things aloud, by playing with the spreadsheets, which obviously I like to do. It helps organize my thoughts, but trying to explain them out loud, it will be a helpful way, hopefully, that I can rationalize my thoughts, and having to explain them, having to defend them to you, the invisible audience who will hopefully listen to this one day. And that helps me today in this day of recording. But thank you for listening to all this. I hope it makes any sense to you. I hope it aids you with your decision-making process about seeing the weird journey this one pledger has gone on. And hopefully learn from my mistakes. And certainly you'll need to spend the money that I've spent on this game. But that's what I was saying. I was going to kind of go back to a standpoint of, I have lots of ships, but if I wanted to experience other ships, I just help crew them. And one of the things about, it's better to earn down than up. I think it's even better to spend to get everything you want to do and not earn anything. Spend that money elsewhere doing other things. And I had my ideas before about how I was going to be spending my money since I had all the ships that I thought I would need. So that's kind of like my caveat to that mantra. So I'll just wrap it up here. Thank you all for watching. Again, I hope you got something out of this. Please consider giving it a thumbs up if you did. And please comment your thoughts on this journey and kind of share your experiences. If anything sounds familiar to you, hopefully you were just as wowed with the IAE, or excuse me, not IAE, but CitCon this year as I was. And subscribe and click the bell icon to be notified of when I post my next video with my musings. Again, thank you for watching. Take care, everyone. Bye.